Okay, so Soul Mask lets you recruit NPC tribesmen to be part of your tribe, so you can use them to run your bases. They can do a wide range of tasks and can be programmed to do a complicated range of camp maintenance. Unfortunately, it's not all sunshine and rainbows in the rainforest. Automation in Soul Mask is finicky, and unless you have everything set up correctly, you're going to end up with boxes filled with more thatch, branches, and poop than you can use. And then your tribe will wind up sitting around doing nothing or dancing when they should be working. So today, I'm going to explain some of the unknown aspects of automation in Soul Mask in order to help you get your pals back to work as efficiently as possible. The first and probably most important thing is the location, size, and organization of your base. At the start of the game, which is where I'm at currently, you want your base to be located near a river so you have easy access to water, fish, and clay. There are various recipes that require these three materials, and you want your tribe to do the grunt work farming these things so you can do other more interesting things instead. I made the mistake of not doing this, and it's been a pain in the ass when I wanted to make certain things. Clay is also used for stone foundations, so if you want to make stone buildings, you definitely want easy access to clay. Size-wise, you want to make sure that there's plenty of space between workstations and wide pathways for your tribesmen to walk through. They can't push each other out of the way, and they aren't smart enough to move when they get stuck. So instead, we have to make sure their paths are as clear and uncluttered as possible so we're not stuck unsticking them all the time. Not only that, as you upgrade workbenches, they get bigger, and some upgrades introduce entirely new workbenches. So having materials ready to expand your base when necessary is really important, or you can just build a new base somewhere else. Regardless, you'll need more space than you think you will. Which leads us to the third thing, organization. You want your tribesmen to have clear paths to the item boxes they'll be utilizing, so having a clear storage area close to the workbenches will help that problem with some workbenches, but other workbenches will require more boxes than there's space for. I have boxes of certain materials next to workstations that can use them, but it looks awful and is functionally obnoxious, so I won't be doing this in my next build. I'll make a layout video when I finally figure out the best storage layout for automation. Now that you have your base started, let's talk about the nuances of automation. This is just going to be a quick list to make it easy. The system itself is very complicated and in-depth, so I don't have everything figured out yet. First, you probably know that you can queue up crafts, but the slider goes up to 999 and is difficult to get small or exact quantities. So instead, you can click on the numbers and type in the quantity that you want to have made. Or you can click the funky little wheel in the bottom right and create a cycling queue. What this does is it only allows a tribesman to work on a single craft for a specific quantity or period of time, and then they move on to the next one in the queue. If you need multiple materials from the current bench, cycling crafts will allow them all to be made. Compound fertilizer, as an example, uses 10 of each other fertilizer to be made. So you can set up a queue to make all of the other fertilizers first, and then the compound fertilizer gets made last after each one has already been made. I haven't tested this as thoroughly as I'd like, so I'm not sure if an NPC will jump between cycling crafts on different workbenches, or if they'll just only cycle on one single workbench. Next, in this same area in the bottom right, you can assign a caretaker to a workbench. The cool thing about this list is that it will put the most suitable worker at the top of the list and highlight the skill that the current bench uses. But make sure that you name the tribesman and put a little note so you can keep better track of who's doing what and what NPC should be replaced or used as a poop scooper. Thanks to that list, you don't need to screen each worker to see where they fit best. But if they're working on two benches that use the same skill, managing their automation will become tricky depending on how cycling works, like I've mentioned before. As an example, both cooking and alchemy have multiple benches that utilize those single skills, and an NPC will have to jump between the two unless you have an extra NPC with one of those skills. This is why abducting tribesmen with multiple high skills will be very important for the efficiency of your base, since you can only have a max of 18 as a solo player. Your max becomes 50 if you're in a multiplayer clan though. As you advance in the game, you'll gain access to more and more materials, and over time, your boxes are going to get filled up with materials that aren't being used efficiently. For me, things like thatch, vines, and the various farmed goods that the gardener makes have been filling the boxes extremely quickly, forcing the workers to stop working because they can't dump their bags after harvesting. But once you start making bronze, you can upgrade all of your storage boxes. But unlike many other games, instead of taking everything out of the old box, swapping them out, and then replacing all of the items, you can instead directly upgrade the old box as long as you have one in your inventory. Just go to the box, hit upgrade, and choose the box you have available, and it'll make the swap, retaining all of the items inside. The best part about this is that it also retains the name and all of the rules of the old box. But just so you know, the wooden box has 66 slots, and the metal box has 132 slots, so make sure you upgrade your full boxes first. You may not need to upgrade every single box, especially boxes that don't hold a lot of items like ore and ingots or weapons and armor, but they'll be perfect for storing mass boxes of branches and thatch, as an example. After upgrading, the old box will go into your inventory so you can save it for something else or another location entirely, since you'll probably be moving anyway. When programming your workers or workbenches, you can move the order of items in the list up and down. The ones at the top will be worked on first and then down in order. This works for benches if a worker is tied to 2 or more workbenches, and for the tasks that you program them to work on, like logging or moving items. The order is pretty important since they can't, as an example, deposit items into a box unless they've gathered those items first. I need to spend some more time testing the limits of NPC programming in order to understand how they choose to move items from workbenches to boxes and when they decide to do that. But for now, I programmed the Gopher, my generic NPC, to collect stray items in random boxes and place them in the correct boxes. The programming for that is annoying, but there's not much else I can do about it. This circles back to your storage system, but until I actually have one, I'm gonna have to put a pin in it and talk about it later. And unfortunately, that's about as far as I've figured things out. Understanding the various recipes, benches, and ingredient requirements is vitally important to creating a functional organizational system, and my knowledge is limited to the early stages of the game. As an example, like I can use poop to make niter and niter powder, but I don't know what that powder is used for. But I suppose that's fine, because that's where you're starting out also. So I hope that this little guide helped you out, but if you have any questions, please leave them down below and I'll answer them as soon and as best as I can. Eventually, I'll bust out a video for my perfect efficiency system, but until I get there, we all have to settle for this beginner stuff. That's all I have for you today. You're welcome.